This is Season 3, Episode 11 of The Man Who Woke Up the Buddha. It's entitled, We're Only Human. Previously, Sid gave the grandchildren a Dharma talk about animal sacrifice, with a focus on the Abraham and Isaac story by way of Bob Dylan. Fortunately, no animals were harmed in the making of that episode, as long as you don't count the hamburgers and hot dogs. Sid was mad, angry, enraged, apoplectic. A little voice inside him said, I don't think the Buddha gets angry. But there was another voice, and it was angry. Who the hell is that? Maybe that's me. Whoever that is. Here we go, the Buddha thought. Sid figured it was 2 a.m. He didn't care. He wanted to scream. He had to scream. It was like waking up in the middle of the night after a little too much liquor and a lot too much food and trying to make it to the bathroom before throwing up. He slid carefully out of the bed, picked his Superman bathrobe up off the floor, stumbled into his slippers, and felt his way through the bedroom door and along the walls until he was able to grab the railing and start working his way downstairs, struggling to keep the screams down. Pāli was asleep, head tucked into his body. He just stirred enough to whisper, Sid-Buddha? Sid made it to the basement stairs. Thank God someone had left a lamp on. He kept going through the TV ping-pong room, where he gave his Dharma talks to the grandchildren, into the room with the small bar and double-locked liquor cabinet, to keep Jake out as much as the kids. Running his hand along the bar railing, he opened the door to the garage, down the steps, leaned on Di's brand-new Lexus, and let out a heaven-curdling roar. He was mad at the whole thing, the cancer thing, the Buddha thing, the shelter for unhoused dead people thing. He roared again, and again, and again, until he felt like he was a fire and brimstone-breathing Old Testament prophet, a voice from the wilderness shouting on a mountaintop, Woe to the one who believes his rage is righteous. Woe to the one who believes his indignation is just. Every day is a day of judgment. Every day the resurrection is at hand. He began to dry heave. Turning away, he had enough wits left about him not to throw up on Di's car. He put his hands on his thighs and let loose. The Buddha hadn't expected Sid to walk through the fire. His job was just to unwittingly help some high-powered beings from way back when get scorched. Folks who needed a brief fling with earthly consciousness to clear away some leftover karma. No need for Sid to get burned out in the process, the Buddha thought. Maybe just a little singe to clear up his own karmic screw-ups this time around. After all, he's only human. Overall, the Buddha was pleased, like he always was, but even more so. Well, good for him. Now he can leave clean as a whistle. Of course, it's lucky he didn't let loose on the Lexus. That could have set him back lifetimes. He shook his head. You just never know what the universe has up its sleeve. And then the storm passed. Sid walked to the open garage door, looked up at the stars, and took a deep breath of cool air, and another, until he felt cleansed. The doors of perception had been flung wide open. He felt he'd learned something profoundly true, even if he couldn't say what it was. But is truth realized in anger still the truth? Sometimes that's the truest of all, the Buddha reflected, when done sparingly, but wholeheartedly. Sid found the garage hose and quickly washed away the evidence, except for the wet hem of his Superman bathrobe, before walking back into the basement. Di was sitting on the stairs, her elbows on her knees, chin on her fists. This isn't the time to be glib, the Buddha thought. I guess this isn't the time to be glib, Sid realized. Hey, he said, tightening his robe and walking towards her. Hey, she said. Her look was as much determined as concerned, like this is something we really have to deal with, Sid. He put his hand against the ping-pong table and stood there until she nodded. Let's go back to bed. She reached her hand back to lead him up the stairs. Sid-Buddha? Pāli said when they passed. It's okay, Pāli, Di said. Di? Pāli said sleepily. When they got back to the bedroom, Sid slid under the covers without protest. You settle. I'm going to make you some tea. He was sitting up staring straight ahead when she got back with the tea. Yes, mint tea, she said, making it clear he was going to drink it. Night, big guy, she said. Night, sport. The name he'd used when they first dated. It said more than an apology. Dr. Juris walked into the living room carrying his doctor's bag. He looked at Sid, dressed in pink sweats, in the Barca lounger, and nodded. Then he looked at Pāli, and also nodded. Of course Sid would be in the Barca lounger. Of course he'd now have a parrot. Pāli looked at Dr. J curiously, because he had a strange thing around his neck that looked like it would be really fun to nibble on. Dr. J, this is Pāli, Sid said. J, please hang your stethoscope on the outside of his cage. He'd like to nibble on it. You must have more where that came from. Doc, Pāli added enthusiastically, as J brought it over. Di walked in behind Dr. J and handed him a seltzer. It wasn't 5 p.m. yet. And Sid a chocolate milk. He wasn't dead yet. She sat down in one of the swivel chairs and pointed to the other one for Dr. J. Pāli stopped rubbing his head against the rubber stethoscope tube, took a little drink himself, and looked around at everybody. Clearly, this was an important conversation. Lucky he was there. Pāli, this is Dr. J, Sid said to his sidekick. He's one of the best oncologists in the country and one of the best cyclists in the state, in his age range, of course. Jaja? Pāli tried out the sound. You carrying your biking clothes in that doctor's bag now? Sid asked. Nah, gym stuff. I'm going there after this. Figured the stethoscope might convince people I know how to use the defibrillator. Go light there, buddy, he added, as Pāli started nibbling on the rubber tubing. Do you? They both laughed. Di interrupted. Okay, enough you guys. What did the MRI say? A few days before, Sid had spent some quality time with the hospital's take-no-prisoners MRI tech for his post-radiation scans. I've got bad news, Dr. J said with a glint in his eye. Don't tell me I'm going to go on living, Sid groaned. I could have told you that, the Buddha thought. Shut up, Sid, Di said. Did she just tell me to shut up? I can't remember the last time that happened. The Buddha chuckled at the memory. Oh, right, Marie Antoinette. Yeah, things look pretty good, Dr. J said. I was pleased. Pāli chirped, so apparently he was pleased, too. Maxfield, too, appeared, and, with a suspicious look at Pāli, jumped up on Sid's lap, as if he'd just been reassured Sid wasn't contagious anymore. And that means? Di asked. Dr. J turned towards Di and put his hand up, so he didn't have to look at the faces Sid was making. His blood work was fine, a little elevated white cell count, but you'd expect that. I didn't expect that, Sid said. Shut up, Sid, Di repeated. Now that I think of it, I'm pretty sure Cleopatra told me to shut up a few times, Buddha reminisced. It was worth it. No indication of new cancer cells. Of course, that was unlikely anyway, so soon after radiation. When do we check again? Di asked. Well, now that we have a new baseline, he'll have one every 2 to 3 months. Sid and Pāli were looking back and forth between them. Sid, shut up, Di said. I didn't say anything. It's a preemptive shut up. Wish they could just put a USB port in the back of my head, Sid muttered to himself. I heard they had something like that back in Atlantis, the Buddha thought. Too bad about that asteroid. Well, it's bound to be something. Those people, the Buddha shook his head. Okay, Di said, we got another problem, Jay. Besides him, Jay asked. She ignored him. You know all about Sid's pretending to hear voices. I was wondering how the Buddha thing was going, the doctor answered. It's not a Buddha thing, it's being the Buddha. There's a difference, Sid insisted. Not all that much, the Buddha pointed out, to whoever was listening. Oh, Sid just has an overactive imagination, Dr. J said, trying to reassure her. Most people think they hear voices occasionally. It's not, Sid started to object. Shut up, Sid! Pāli shrieked. When did you teach him to say that? Sid continued objecting. Di smiled triumphantly. Did you know there's a hearing voices movement? A voice called from the next room. See, Sid said triumphantly. I just heard a voice, didn't you? Shut up, Sid! Pāli shrieked. There's another. Zoe, sweetie, come here, Di said. Zoe walked in, carrying her tablet, looking a little sheepish. When did you get here, Zoe? Di asked. Just after Dr. J. I thought I'd do my homework in your office. I know you're interested, honey, but this really is a conversation for us and the doctor. Well, I'm glad the test came out well. We all are, but we have other things to discuss. Okay, I'll put in my earpods so I can't hear. I'm listening to the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. A little voice in Sid's head said, A2, Zoe? Before you go, he said, looking serious enough for Di to let him go on, could you just tell us, briefly, what the Hearing Voices movement is? They fight discrimination against people who hear voices, Zoe explained matter-of-factly. I should be president of the thing, Sid said to Zoe. Started laughing. You learned that in the decline and fall of the Roman Empire? Probably Nero, singing while he fiddled, while, shut up, Sid, woo! Di and Pāli said in unison. Whose side are you on, Pāli? Di. Pāli admitted sheepishly. Now it's really time for you to leave us, Zoe, Di said. Close the door, okay? Zoe nodded. Bye, Pāli, she said as she left. Bye, Owie, Pāli said, flapping a wing. Listen, Jay, Di started again, all business. Last night I heard blood-curdling screams coming from the garage, so I went down and sat on the basement steps. Sid wasn't hearing voices. He wasn't impersonating anyone. He was possessed. True, the Buddha thought. Not exactly how you think, but it's good you came down when you did. They've been getting more intense, Di said, but this was completely over the top. It almost felt unsafe. For you? Dr. J asked, suddenly in mandatory reporting mode. Or for him, the Buddha thought. Sid, Dr. J said, with as clinical a tone as he could manage with his old friend. Okay, yeah, I was pretty upset, Sid admitted. It was like being in some Charlton Heston movie. Then Sid just shrugged like it was no big deal. I mean, if you'd asked me my name, date of birth, and all that other stuff you people ask, I would have known it. Well, weird things do happen. Hallucinations, seeing colors, hearing strange sounds, after radiation. But this seems exceptionally weird, even for you. I gotta ask the official question, Di. You think he's at risk to himself or others? I don't know. I wouldn't exactly be comfortable having the grandkids here for a sleepover after that. Isn't there some drug for when he gets really out there? Benjo! Pāli shrieked, sounding a little too enthusiastic. Did he say benzo? Dr. J asked disbelievingly. How many words does he know, anyway? We don't know till he says one, Di explained. He was Kesey's parrot. That explains a lot, Dr. J admitted. He'd only met Kesey a couple of times, but that was enough to know he could go behaviorally mano a mano with Sid. Maybe he's saying Zendo, a voice came from the other room. Oh, wee! Pāli shrieked sternly. He was turning into the household enforcer. Sorry, she called out. Di just shook her head. Sid, seriously, Dr. J said. How about I set you up to see a neurologist? Sid was about to object, but he sensed something or someone holding him back. I thought we'd see you at some point, the Buddha said to that someone. Tread lightly, will you? That hasn't always been your strong point. I don't need a neurologist. I need a fucking alchemist, Sid said quietly. Couple of notes on this one. Dr. Joris, who's known as Dr. J, first appeared back in Season 1, Episode 10. He has an unpronounceable first name. That's why they call him Dr. J. Also, I've occasionally acknowledged the journey of my late friend Mark Green as a source for some of the details of Sid's cancer diagnosis and treatment, including his excellent, if perhaps unrealistic, idea of implanting USB ports for scans. Mark's memoir of his illness is called Void of Detached. And of course, Zoe's right. As usual, there is something called the Hearing Voices movement, and there is a USA chapter. Thanks again for listening to The Man Who Woke Up the Buddha.